Greetings, BUSN 1360 Software Apps for Business Students. So we have arrived at that time in our term where it's time to do the Module 1 Word Capstone Quiz and Critical Thinking Grader. That is badge enabled, and I'm going to explain this to you. So this assignment is very similar to assignments that you've done in the previous 4 chapters. The difference is that instead of focusing on one particular chapter, the Module 1 Capstone covers all 4 chapters. As the name implies, there are 2 pieces to this. There is a quiz and there is a grader, and I want to talk about those. And I also want to talk about this badge that is possible. Okay, so let's get started. Let me advance here. There we go. Oh, I wanted to offer you this note of encouragement, which is you can do it. Sometimes when it comes to applying our knowledge from across the 4 chapters, we get a little nervous and we say, wait a minute, they've got to tell me how to do this. But the key is you do already know how to do it, and you'll see that and you will have this success. And perhaps you might have to struggle just a little bit, but that's okay because you've got your book, right? You still have all those resources and this knowledge that you have acquired. And I think you're going to be impressed with how much you actually know, how much you have learned by going through this. Now, what's the key to success? Plan your time. You're probably not going to be able to sit down at 10 o'clock the night that it's due and get through this. Use your book. Don't hesitate. And your book, that digital book, is searchable, and that is going to really help. Proceed thoughtfully. So, take a moment, take a beat, and just say, wait a minute, okay, what are they asking me? Really read the instructions very carefully. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. It does happen. Again, use your book. When you make a mistake, go back, look at it. What did I do wrong? Correct the mistake and submit it again. If you remember your syllabus, you do have more than one attempt. And so if we make a mistake, we just say, okay, the grader has told me that I've made a mistake. Let me look at this. Let me figure out what's wrong. And some of your most successful students, including in this class, are out there doing it. And they're saying, let me fix those mistakes. And when they absolutely get stuck, they do ask for help. And that's exactly how it should progress, right? So you can do it. You really can. Let's get started. So I wanted to begin a little bit by referring to the syllabus, because if I can switch around to it, here it is. On page 13 of the syllabus, you want to go through this. I can tell that some students, as they're talking to me, are not aware of the benefits. This is not about the stick beating you over the head. There are great things in here that if you don't know, you may not be taking advantage of. Okay, so you can read. This is, by the way, right below the details on the grader, and that's where this pass-fail is explained, number of attempts, and let's go down because I think you're going to find this is pretty similar. So this tells you the assignment covers all 4 parts. I'm not going to read that, but I encourage you to. It tells you that it's 2 parts, the quiz and the grader. And as I scroll down, look at this. Points are assigned pass-fail, just like your grader, 70% or above, right? Now 69.999 or below, you don't want to even enter that realm, so make sure you do allow some time. And for the first time, this badge concept is introduced. So this is a very specialized grader project that tests, let me make this bigger for you, that tests students for mastery of the knowledge. So students who score 90% or above receive a badge, a digital badge from Pearson Publishing. So the badge can be displayed on any of your social media sites, especially if you participate in like a resume site. LinkedIn is commonly one. Then you may want to display that badge on your professional site so that people know, hey, when this person says they know Word, they didn't just type that on their resume to try to enhance their skills. I see right away before I even, look at their transcript or anything like that, that they know, Microsoft Word in this case. Okay, important note, grader projects can be picky and badges are controlled by Pearson, not by me. So when we talk about that 90%, you really do have to earn 90%, even if you think it should have not deducted a point for this. And believe me, I know. I will tell you, I have done this project and it is possible to score a perfect 100%. And I know that you can do that too. I really do. I know you can do it. I just know it. Okay, so anyway, be very careful because, sometimes to your eye, it might look like it's correct, but with editing skills and the computer can look at it, there might be an error. So, pay close attention to that. But 90% or above to get a badge, but 70% or above to get the perfect score, right? All those points. Now, if you get a bad score, how do you go back and look at what the grader said? And in your syllabus, I have a link to a video that is also available to you inside a pause under the Getting Started content for us, but this video will show you. So it's right there in the syllabus. Now, there is one trick that students have asked me about. If you open up the grader and the feedback that you receive is just wrong from beginning to end, there are two common reasons for that. Let's say out of 100 points you got 1 point or 2 points, whatever it is. Maybe you submitted the wrong file. That happens all the time. I have done it, and it's an easy mistake. File management is really, really key. So, kind of check yourself at that point. You might have submitted the wrong file. The second thing here is that if you really get something wrong early on in the document, then it tends to throw it off. I mean, you'd have to kind of really have some big mistakes, but it could cause problems throughout the document. You were supposed to change the font on the entire document and you didn't. Well, it's going to identify every single paragraph and, throw up all these red flags. So if you see just tons and tons of errors, it typically means that you've got to go back to the earliest thing in the document that you got correct and spot check from that point forward. Okay, but other than that, it'll save you a lot of time to go back and look at your grading because you can then just go in and fix those specific errors. And I'm going to show you examples of all of this. Okay, so make sure you go through, look at all this different these things in your syllabus, and that will help you out quite a bit. So that was page 13 of the syllabus. Let's keep moving. So Module 1, Word Capstone, capstone being the key word, quiz and critical thinking grader. Badge enabled, as we just talked about, has two parts, the quiz and the grader. And when I looked at the questions in the quiz, because this is our first time ever using this particular book, and the assignments, these Module 1 assignments were a little different in the previous version. Okay, so when I looked at the quiz questions, I said, well, to me, I think the quiz should come first. That was my thinking. So when I set up your assignment, I put the quiz as the first part and the grader as the second part. And then one of your really savvy classmates, and you've got some folks out there, let me tell you, folks, they're working hard. I used to work with a lady who would say, no grass grows underneath their feet. In other words, they're always moving. And I know that's true actually of all of you all because you have so many responsibilities. So you're always moving. And as people get ahead and they email me and they'll say, something is not as great as it could be over here, a little bit of trouble over here, and that's great because it gives me an opportunity to look at it. And what one of your savvy classmates told me was that there are some questions in this quiz that you have to answer, but they're about the grader. And so as they were getting to this, they said, well, wait a minute, what are they talking about? Because is this like an assignment that I did 3 weeks ago? What are we even talking about? Okay, here's how to handle it right now for Word. Remember, you have unlimited attempts. So the first time you take this quiz, why don't you just kind of look at the questions? Because that way you'll know what they're going to ask you when you're really ready to take the quiz after you do the grader. So complete the quiz, do the best that you can, then you'll have the opportunity to progress to the grader, then do the grader, and then you can always go back and do the quiz again. Okay, so and that way you'll have the answers that you need. So don't worry that, oh my gosh, you could just click through the quiz and kind of just answer, A for all the questions. But I think you should read the questions because that's the heads up of what you should look for right after as you do the grader. Now here's the reassurance that I'd like to offer you. When we progress to the Excel and PowerPoint, we'll have a Module 2 Excel capstone quiz. We'll have a PowerPoint, which is Module 3 capstone quiz and critical thinking grader. I'm going to reverse these. So fear not, I will change the order. Since students had already started it for Word, it would not allow me to change the order. So for this one, just kind of work with me. I don't think it's going to cause any harm, and you may actually kind of prefer it because you get to kind of look at the questions. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and click to advance. This is what it looks like. Under MyITLab, MyLab IT, you go under course materials as you're kind of used to, and you will take the quiz. When you first arrive at this screen, what you will notice is that you will not be able to do the grader. The quiz, because of the sequencing for Word, it's going to require you to do the quiz first. Now, like I said, later on, I'm going to reverse that. Okay, later on, it's going to make you do the grader first. So you'll have taken the quiz and you'll see your score. If your score is low, go back and do it again. Remember those unlimited attempts. I would hate for you to settle on a lower score, okay, especially, if there's anything you struggle with. Some other things is remember that this is open notes, open book. So the great thing about teaching a class like this is you might be able to Google some of these things. I find wonderful web pages on how to do certain things in Word that, quite frankly, are sometimes faster than opening up the book. But that being said, the book is an awesome resource, and I hope you're seeing that. So open up that book, and it's searchable, and we're going to look at that in just a moment. Now, you see at this point I haven't done the grader, but you're familiar with quizzes, you're familiar with graders. It's just that they're packaged together. Because I got above my 90% on this particular quiz, I was notified that I am going to get a badge, and I will get this in email as well. And so this is that digital badge that we were talking about. There's I can click here to go to a website when I see this, and I can display that badge, put it on. It's what it is they'll tell you copy and paste this code, and they typically also give you an actual image that you could upload to things. So again, just kind of stretch your stuff a little bit. Why not? You earned it, or you're going to earn it, right? Okay, so I'm going to advance to this grader, and let's talk a little bit about it. Whoops, blank screen. What's going on with my grader here? Here we go. Folks, here is the trick to the grader. You have already practiced with these graders a little bit, and a lot of the key here is that you have to really be detailed and accurate. So it's so easy to skip a step. If you have the ability to print, this is where printing off these instructions can be really helpful. Use a highlighter or a pen to underline or check off. I remember I had a student one time, she was out of the military, and when she looked at her instructions, you should have seen the markings that she would put on her instructions. She would check mark next to not like step 12 has a check mark, but she would check mark next to the action words, like right over the action words, to say I've done this part and I've done this part and I've done this part. So whatever system works for you, with the grader, that's going to save you a lot of frustration, is to really be detailed and accurate. Again, we're going to want to use your book. This is not based on one chapter. This is based on all 4 of those word chapters. And a really fast way to use your book is to search your book, and we're going to look at that. The key here also, I'm saying key a lot, there's a lot of keys, is to demonstrate knowledge from the book. And I can kind of really give you several examples of that. They are not just testing you willy-nilly. This is based on things that you have gone over. And so there, I say that to say there's an expectation that you understand key words. So as they're telling you, okay, here's a great example. I've just completed a table and I've typed some words in my table, and the instructions say select the center align. If you go to the Home tab and click Center, the grader will probably mark that wrong, because that is not the same as in the table layout ribbon clicking the Align Center button. So those could be perceived differently. The reason for that is when you just click center, that's a horizontal, that's across the page, that's across center. The center align means both from above and below as well as from left and right. So it's a vertical as well as a center align. So that's the difference in demonstrating knowledge, because they showed you in your book that center align. Okay. Let's not get too lost in that. Let's start to look at an actual example. Where's my example? There we go. I don't know why that wasn't coming up. Okay. Let's just look at these 3 instructions. These are great instructions. They demonstrate a lot of concepts for us. Move to the beginning of the document and press Enter. Now, I want you to stop and think. How can I be 1000% sure that I'm at the beginning of the document? Control Home. On your keyboard, if it's a laptop, is the Home key in blue? It is for me. And that means that I also need to hold down the Function key, the FN key. So Control Function Home in order to activate that, right? Now I'm at the beginning of my document. Press the Enter key. So I need to press that. Remove the first line indent. Ooh, do you know what they're talking about? Okay, that's going to be a key thing that we're going to demonstrate our knowledge from the newly inserted paragraph. Then we're going to type statement of purpose and apply bold formatting, and then we're going to center. So hopefully you're good with all this. This is a chapter 1, I think. Okay, a footnote. Look at this. This is the next thing I want to demonstrate. A footnote enables you to clarify or expound on a statement in the body of the document without cluttering the document with more text. What? What are they telling me to do here? They're not telling me to do anything. They're simply telling me about a footnote. Guess what? When you see paragraphs like this, it's on the quiz. It's on the quiz. So maybe highlight that so you can find it really quickly when you're going through your quiz. So I'm going to come down here to the instruction part. This is the real instruction. In the second paragraph on the first page, let's stop here. What's a paragraph? In your mind, you might be saying a paragraph is a bunch of words, like it's 5 sentences, an opening sentence, some supportive sentences, and a conclusion sentence. Nope. In Word, a paragraph is any time you've hit that Enter key. The Enter key, doesn't that make a paragraph? Okay, so in the second paragraph on the first page, place the insertion point, so I'm going to have to click after the period, not before, and that's very tempting, at the end of the sentence that ends with by University of Arizona. Insert a footnote that reads and all this kind of stuff. Okay, so for the thing I wanted you to understand here is that this is going to be on the quiz. Now, when I insert this, and I'm going to show you all this in a minute, notice my next step. Modify the footnote style, changing the footnote to Bookman Old Style font size. I am going to open. So make sure that we're on. Yep, we're on. Okay, so here are my documents, and I have my instructions, but I've got them organized there in my Word module. Now I have finished this, so it's already connected to a database, so I'm going to go ahead and click on yes. You probably won't see that, but let's look at this footnote. Here's the footnote that I have inserted, and see how they asked me to put this on University of Arizona. So I wanted you to see the finished document, but I want to show you something else also. When they tell me in the instructions things like find this, move the insertion point after by the University of Arizona, folks, I cannot always see it. I have to tell you, my eyes are older. When I get working on the computer for a while, I don't always see it. So a great tool is to come click on Find. And remember, I was looking for University of Arizona, right? So takes me right to it. Now that it'll stay there if I click. I need to click someplace in here, and then I can close this dialog box. Now I inserted the footnote, and down here it was initially not this Bookman old style, it was something else. And the temptation at this point would be to select this text and to say, oh, let me just change this to Bookman old style, right? I'll just do Bookman old style, right? What? That's not what they're asking. Let me cancel and undo. That's not what they're asking. What they said is that modify the footnote style. So again, this is where you're going to demonstrate your understanding. You want to change the footnote style, not just the text in that one footnote. So maybe you're just right now, I don't know how to do that. How do I even get started? I'll never figure that out, right? Well, okay, let's stop for a minute here. Let's not panic. When you go under course materials, and that's important, course materials. I understand that sometimes you like the calendar or some of these other things, but if you will work with me here, go to course materials. I'm in MyITLab, and I just came down to course materials, and you have all these nice folders, and look at all that work that you've done. Oh my gosh, Word 1, you knocked that out of the park. Word 2, Word 3, you're working on Word 4 right now, and then you'll be headed into this Module 1. Well, in these folders, I'm going to pick Chapter 4. Why not? I have links to, oops, there we go. I have links to the book. I actually had one at the very top, right? So why not open the book as I'm working? I'm going to have to make sure my pop-ups are not blocked. Enable those pop-ups. Now I'm going to make this full screen so that we can see it. See how I did that? That's what this square is right here, full screen, and then I could make it small again if I needed. Now when I'm in my book, when it first opens up, it might remember where I was and it may not. So I'm going to click over here on this menu, and just to remind you, our book is very large. We actually don't cover every single part, like we don't do these common features. You're certainly welcome to look at them. But then it begins into Word. There's Word 1, Word 2, Word 3, Word 4, and then later on Excel. And you can click to expand or to close, right? Okay. I wanted the book open. I wanted to make sure you were aware of that, especially because when you open a book, like I've opened the book here to Chapter 4, Word Chapter 4, I can find whatever I'm interested in. I had been searching, I was practicing this example, and I looked for the footnote style, and look how it's highlighting. And so I know I can go straight to Objective 1 or straight to Objective 2. If I want to see a video, then go to these hands-on exercises, because these are videos on these pages that will show you how to accomplish anything in hands-on exercise 1 will have been covered in these. If I'm looking more for something like this, then I would click on hands-on exercise 2. The content in hands-on exercise 2 will be from Objective 4 or from Objective 5. Okay, so let's continue with our example. I've opened the book, right? Maybe I go to a chapter, maybe I don't. The most important thing is that I'm trying to understand how to format the footnote style, because that's what my instructions said. Modify the footnote style. So I opened my book. I'm going to come up here to the search. And maybe you have something up there, maybe not. I cleared mine. And I'm going to type footnote style. Now, I will tell you, the more that you understand the key words, that it's style, that it's not necessarily footnote font, the more you use those key words, the better your search is going to be. And I see I have several options here. And this one says modify footnote style. Oh, that looks like what I want. I double-clicked it. It's moving me down the page. I do find that sometimes I have to go up a little bit and read more so that I can kind of get into it. But as I come down here, it actually is telling me these are the steps. It's telling me how to modify this these styles. It gives me a picture, and then down here it tells me the exact steps. Now, not on the document that I'm working on, but I can say if it works in this document, then I can do this in other documents. I just have to read these instructions on how to do it, right? Okay, so let me go a little bit. I was looking for, what was I looking for? I'm sorry, I was looking for this. You have to right click and those. Okay, so this is telling me about the footnote, the alignment is left and all that. Oh, I think I'm on a different page than, oh, there, the right click. Okay, so right click the footnote at the bottom, so I know I'll have to do that. I know I'll have to click style, then I'll have to click modify, right? So as I read through these instructions, this is where I'm going to learn how to complete these steps. I might need to practice it, or I might need, in this document, or I might need to go to the video, the hands-on video, to learn a little better. Okay. I'm kind of talking too much there. I apologize. I rambled a little bit. Let me go back to my document. And this is the footer. And what I learned from reading my book is that I need to right click in this footnote. And then it told me to go to style. See, I'd be tempted to go to font, but from the book I know that that's not right. Maybe the grader marks me wrong because I used font instead of style. Okay, now that I'm here, I'm like, oh goodness, do I click on this stuff? Nope. It told me, it showed me in that picture to click on modify. Then I would change this to Bookman Old Style. They wanted the font to be 12, so I need to make sure I set that to 12. And then I would click on OK. Takes me back to this, and I would click on apply. And all my footnotes from this point on will use that style. If I just formatted the one, I would have to continuously format my footnotes, but this way all of my footnotes will take that style of Bookman Old Style 12-point font. Okay, so here's my point. Keywords, footnote style. If I don't understand that, then I might need to go to my book, especially if I'm getting step number 8 wrong. Be very precise. Use the search, the find feature inside of Word to locate the text that they're telling me to locate. Explanations like this are probably going to be on that little quiz, so be prepared for that. And be very, very precise, very specific. Now, let's continue on. I'm going to look at one more set of instructions here. This is when we talk about being very detailed and very precise, this is a great example. So in step 24, they tell us to replace some text that they have. I used the find feature in Word to find that text. They tell me where it's located, and then they have me replace it with a mail merge field. Now this instruction gets a little cloudy because after I've already replaced it, because I follow this very methodically, after I've already replaced, then they tell me to ensure that I have spaces on either side and to make sure that I've replaced the brackets as well. So you might want to read the whole step before you start taking action and then preview the results. Okay, now in this step, step number 25, this is a great example because this is where if you're really not paying attention, you might lose your hard work. Okay. They walk me through some steps and then they tell me save the file. So I make all these changes and then they say save. But in the same sentence, without missing a beat, they say and close all open documents without saving. At this point, you will have 2 documents open and you will have already saved what they wanted you to save. The second document you're going to close without saving. But to make sure that there's no problem where you're saving one and not saving the other one, closing the others, they are first telling you to save what's important, and then they're telling you to close everything. But if you don't read that really carefully, you could make a mistake. And this is where checking things and underlining things or highlighting can be important. In this last step, they once again tell you to save, but now, you've already saved, and then they're saying to close without saving. But again, the concept here is you have already saved. You did your first save right up here in step 25. Now, hopefully, every time you finish a step, you are saving your work. If you think you've done, honestly, this is what I say to myself. I'll finish a step. Maybe I finished step 24, or maybe whoops, goodness, this goes so slowly. Maybe I'm up here and I just decided I finished step 8. I say to myself, am I happy with that? I literally ask myself that in my head. I say, am I happy with that? And as soon as I say yes, I save. If I do it and I go, that's not right, am I happy with that? No. I can either Control Z, right, or undo, or I can, if I've really messed up, I might want to close without saving. But after every step, if I am satisfied that I have completed that step correctly, I save it. Not a doubt in my mind that I'm going to save that. All right, so once you finish that, then hopefully you will arrive at this screen where you pass all the assignments, and you get your perfect grade. Multiple attempts. Don't be afraid to use those multiple attempts. Now, from course materials, I'm going to go down to Module 1, Word Critical Thinking, and I clicked on it to open. And now I'm going to click to open it again, because inside of this there's those two pieces. And now that I can see these two pieces, I can, let's see, up at the top here I have the quiz, and then down below here I have the grader. So I can go and I could look at my quiz submissions if I wanted to do that, but your focus, especially in terms of getting feedback, is to go back to the grader. So I'm going to click on that. Now look at this. Oh my goodness. I have made every mistake. Can you just imagine? Look at this, 4%. And I really want to tell you that I did all of this just to demonstrate that, what if you did this? I get distracted. I make mistakes as I go through things. I don't read the instructions, or I'm not paying attention. So the first error that you see here, oh my gosh, I was just appalled. I said 4%, and I was sure this crazy grader had done something wrong. I said, oh my gosh, it's broken. I'm going to report this to the technical support. And then I was even further. I said, oh my goodness, what integrity violation. What that means is that you've submitted somebody else's work. Hopefully you have not seen that. Okay, so if I go back in and look at this submission, I said, well, I got step 1, and then the problems began with step 2. Somehow I got those, and I said, I've never seen so much red in my life. And then what I did is I said, something is so wrong here. I'm going to pull this up and I'm going to show them that I'm right and they're wrong. And I downloaded the file that I submitted. Have you ever done that? In addition to looking at these errors, you can go back and you can download the file that you submitted. And I'm going to tell on myself. Hopefully you're still watching the video, otherwise how can I tell on myself with you? And do you see already that it said chapter 4? That was the first thing that caught my eye, was in the file name. It said ML04. And when this opened up, I said, this looks terribly familiar, because it's from chapter 4, the grader in chapter 4. So what did I do? I submitted the wrong file. I mean, it's just as simple as that. I made a mistake. I'm glad that the system caught it, and I was, what's the fix for that? Submit the right file. That's a really helpful thing. Okay, second attempt, still had some errors. I'm at a 94, which is great because I would earn my full points because it's above a 70. I also would earn my badge, and so that's great. But I did want to know what mistakes I made. And so as I looked through, I felt good, I felt good, I felt good. Oh no, I saw the red. modify the footnote style, right? So you get that error, you say, what has happened? You expand it, it says, look, and I said, you know what? But I know that I put that footnote, that I formatted it as Bookman old style. And I did, but I did not modify the footnote styling. I just selected the text and changed the format of the text. So the system's going to catch that. It's going to get that wrong, mark me wrong. Then I go through the pictures. I'll tell you, I made a mistake here. You know what? I saw this resize the picture and I saw square. And in my mind, what I did is I set the picture to a 1 by 1 square. And that's not what they instructed me to do. They said the height has to be 1 inch and the other kind of stays the same, or else auto adjusts to stay proportional. Excuse me, and then there's the square text wrapping. So I did that wrong. It caught it. As soon as I can say to myself, I didn't do it right, because I want to say, I did it right. You graded me wrong. No, I did it wrong. And as soon as I can kind of come and accept that, then I can solve the problem. If I don't know how to adjust the picture height, then I'm going to go to my book and I'm going to type in something like resize the picture or some of those keywords. Okay, so this is how you do that, and this is how you get that feedback. Now each time you hope that you get a little better. So I went from a 94%, and if you're starting at a 40%, that's okay. You look at those errors 1 by 1, use your book to try to troubleshoot the process. If you are just really, really stuck and you say, I cannot, I've used the book, I'm just really stuck, I do not mind helping you. I do want to hear about what you've said, because the pattern that we do not want to get into is, okay, I'm on step 2. Now what do I do? Okay, I'm on step 3. Now what do I do? Okay, I'm on step 4. That's not going to drive in the knowledge. And unfortunately, for better or for worse, when we struggle with things just a little bit, it does drive home the knowledge. But when I say struggle, not beat our heads against the wall. Now that also requires that you're planning your time and you're doing this not at 10 o'clock the night that it's due. Okay, so you got to give yourself a little bit of time on that. So here you can see I got that formatting the footnote. What was that? Step 8. Got this. Got my points there, so I'm good. Still having trouble with step number 14, but at least I know I'm on the right track. So finally I go in and fix that, and finally I'm up to my 100%, and so I feel good about that, right? So this is how you do the grader. And I hope this information helps. I know that's kind of my ending slide. I know that this is a long conversation, but some of you have also emailed me to say, I really wish we were in class together, that we had this time together. And I can honestly tell you this, that this is our one-on-one class. This is exactly the type of thing I would do in the classroom. But 9 times out of 10, it's not as effective, because you need the time to practice on the assignments. And so if you start out with the reading and with the quiz, then you get that overview right in the chapters. If you then go into the simulators, your hand is being guided and you're learning the steps. And then when you get to the grader, yes, you're learning. So it's not going to be perfect every time, or even the first time, but you can reference that book and you're using those experiences that you had from the simulator. And now here we are at this capstone, and you can earn this digital badge, and you're going to do a quiz like you've done the quizzes before, and then you're going to go into a grader. And if you don't know how to do something, you're going to go back to your book and you're going to use that search feature, or else if you kind of remember, hey, I think that was in chapter 3, then go to chapter 3, right? But you really can, folks. You really can. You can do this. Give yourself that time. Use your book. Take breaks as you need to, and you'll do fine. Okay, I am here to help. I am glad to help. Some of you have sent me some pictures of your screens when something was really out of whack, and that was fantastic also. So I know I've used up a lot of your time. Dr. McGrory out.